Part 21. Pirate's Bounty Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 212. What a dangerous feeling. In the alleyway, Luogu wiped the cold sweat off his forehead, always feeling that under the situation just now, if he stayed for a while, something terrible might happen. Men must protect themselves when they go out. Luogu waved his fist and was about to leave when he heard a few familiar voices. Turning around, I suddenly saw Dashiki, Mikita, and Perona, walking with two female sailors, talking at the same time, carrying large and small bags in their hands, looking very busy. Luogu's eyes lit up immediately. Stepping through the iron shoes, there is nowhere to find it, and it takes no effort to get it. Just about to rush out, but suddenly stopped. Those two navies have probably been bought by Lester. If I rushed out so recklessly, it might make things worse. Don't be impulsive. After Luogu pondered for a moment, he activated his invisibility ability. Considering how much Mikita and the others hated this ability, Luogu naturally wouldn't just hide himself in the past and talk to them. Otherwise, it is very likely that they will destroy their relatives out of justice. Follow along first, find a chance to chat with them alone. He has already planned. Since Lester paid for everything they need for shopping today, don't waste it. They can buy as much as they want, and when they see the right time, they sneak away. Finally, when Lester reacts, the group on his side has already arrived at the Chambord Islands. Hey. Thinking of his pride, Luogu couldn't help but laugh. Suddenly, I heard someone asking next to my ear, "Why do you seem to hear laughter?" No, don't scare me in broad daylight. It caused a little commotion, not too much disturbance, but it also sounded a wake-up call for Luogu. The invisibility ability is really useful, but he must be careful, especially in this kind of crowded street. He not only has to pay attention to the situation around him, but also pays attention to the movements of those people. In contrast, the talents around you are more important. Otherwise, if a transparent person bumps into each other, it will definitely cause riots. As for those women, as long as they know roughly where they are going and what kind of building they are entering, basically there will be no major problems. Maintaining this state all the way, there is no problem, but I have never found a suitable opportunity. After dodging a brat who rushed over suddenly, Luogu looked up, only to find that the 5 people on the street had disappeared. I was taken aback, and searched quickly, only to notice that one of the 2 female sailors was walking at the end of the line, entering the building as soon as I moved. Luogu hurriedly arrived, not caring to see where it was. Especially in shopping places, if you slow down one step at a time, you may lose sight of them. He followed in a hurry, and after walking a few steps, he was a little puzzled. Where is it? Why is it so hot? Further forward, there is a hall, and there are some women coming and going. Luogu didn't think too much, because he had already seen Mikita, Dashiki, and others waiting in the hall. In this case, there should be a chance later. Nodding silently, he is a patient old hunter. However, during the waiting time, no one had to go to the toilet or anything, so Luogu never had a chance. Finally, several people entered a portal, and Luogu immediately followed. Then, his feet seemed to have been glued, standing there, unable to move. Locker room. Why is it a locker room? He was a little dazed. What the hell was going to the locker room in broad daylight? How about changing clothes and trying on clothes by yourself? I have never heard of a large group of people going together. Wait, could this be a bathhouse? But that's not right. In the bathroom, there should be a sign at the door, and men and women should be separated. Just when I was wondering, I heard a female navy saying while untying her body, "This is a beauty spa specially opened for women, so there is no sign of men and women at the door, there is only one door, and men are definitely not allowed. So, feel free to relax here, This is a rare holy place in the Navy headquarters. Luogu felt an inexplicable sense of crisis. The dazzling array of things in front of you, no, in short, don't look at anything inappropriate. I'd better go out and wait. He turned around to go out, but several people happened to come in at the door. He didn't dare to collide with them, so he could only back away cautiously. But the most terrible thing is not this. The most terrible thing is that the 2-hour time limit for his invisibility is coming soon. Even if it was just 3 seconds, if he showed up in this kind of place, it would definitely cause a commotion. Maybe the entire Navy headquarters will be mobilized to bombard themselves together. How to do? As time passed by, he knew that he would appear soon. It was too late to go out now, and the closest hiding place to him was Mikita's locker. Fight! Luogu stepped forward and twisted his waist, and quietly got into Mikita's cabinet. It just so happened that Mikita had already tidied up his clothes at this time, and just as he entered with his front foot, Mikita closed the door with his back foot. In the darkness, Luogu showed his prototype. So far so good. Luogu heaved a sigh of relief. 3 seconds passed immediately, he turned around and was re-invisible. Everything is unknown. Just as he was thinking, the cabinet door was suddenly opened. Mikita muttered, "Oh, I forgot the towel." Speaking of this, he was bending over to get a towel, and immediately saw Luogu in the cabinet. The two looked at each other. You look at me, I look at you. Luogu also heard Daisuke's voice, "What's wrong?" Mikita opened her mouth wide. 3 seconds had passed by now, and Luogu was invisible in 1 second. It has been seen, even if it is invisible, it does not make any sense. But this kind of thing is like deception, at least a little psychological comfort. Although, not comforted at all. What should I do? If she shouts, then I can only run away, Luogu muttered in his heart, but still couldn't help but glanced at it, and then quickly closed his eyes. Don't look at evil. I am pure, but this ability is too hateful. No wonder Mikita and the others hated it. Then I heard Mikita say, "Ah, it's okay, I forgot the towel, I'll be right there. Hurry up." Daisuke's urging voice gradually faded away. Luogu breathed a sigh of relief, but Mikita didn't shout, so now is the opportunity to chat alone. Then I saw Mikita took the towel, her face was flushed, and she closed the wardrobe door. The darkness fell again, and Mikita gradually drifted away. "Hey, open the door." Luogu's face was full of confusion. What should we do now? And tent. Pirate's bounty, don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 213. Loneliness, darkness. But not silent. Voices outside can be heard at any time, and often what they are discussing is something that a normal man would never hear. The theme of the topic mainly comes from daily gossip, as well as taboo content on development. Luogu felt like sitting on pins and needles. To be honest, even when he was fighting Blackbeard and Ace, he had never been as nervous as he was now. It's not a matter of level at all. Terrible, Luogu felt that he was weak and helpless now. After waiting in such darkness for a long time, he wanted to take advantage of the gap in the dressing room more than once to destroy the cabinet and rush out. However, such an opportunity did not exist. Once he makes too much noise, it will definitely cause a commotion. If something like this happens in the Navy headquarters, the pirate hunter Noro's Rogu will definitely become a joke on the sea. The cold sweat on his forehead fell. He subconsciously picked up a piece of cloth and wiped the sweat on his forehead. Suddenly he felt something was wrong with the thing in his hand. He glanced at the light coming in from the gap, and his face suddenly changed. Hong quickly threw it aside. Look at the nose with the eyes, watch the heart with the nose, stand silently, like a statue. I don't know how long I spent in the darkness, but the voices of Mishita and the others finally came through. Let me tell you. Mishita seemed to have a very big gossip to convey. I seem to have seen the captain just now. Rogu's hair is about to stand up. But it's probably an illusion, Mikita said. I don't know why, but now I always feel that he is by our side. If the captain hears this, he will definitely kill you, Daisuke said, because in your description, the captain seems to be dead. Like a ghost. Is there anything wrong with ghosts? Perona was not very satisfied with Daisuke's statement. Daisuke thought for a while and said, in short, Mikita, if the captain knows what you are saying, he will definitely kill you. No, I won't, Luogu answered silently in his heart, but he was also relieved. It seemed that Mikita's thick nerves didn't associate anything, and thought that what he saw before was a hallucination. Hey, I don't know how the captain is doing, Mishita's voice sounded again. I always feel like that guy named Lester has a conspiracy. It's not a feeling, he just hopes that the captain can be with the female navy named Tina, Perona said. Didn't you already hear this kind of thing clearly? But why, Mikita said, even if the captain plans to find a woman, can't he find us? We are always by his side. Wow, do you really want to be the captain's woman? Perona was a little surprised. The captain looks very abstinent. Is there? Mikita thought about it carefully, but it seems that he really has no interest in women. Lester probably doesn't know this, otherwise, he wouldn't be so busy. Does the captain like men? Daisuke's tone was full of surprise. Then who does he like? Colonel Smoker? Or Lester? It can't be Lieutenant General Garp, right? But apart from them, besides, the captain doesn't seem to know any other men. Lieutenant General Garp is impossible, Perona said. How old is he? Luogu was dumbfounded when he heard it in the cabinet. What is this mess? And why don't you come to open the cabinet after soaking in the hot spring? I want to take this opportunity to get out of this damn place. What? Someone likes Lieutenant General Garp? Just when Luogu was worried, an unknown voice suddenly came. Tell me, who would like Lieutenant General Garp? But it seems normal to like him. After all, he still looks very strong. Well, even though he is a bit older, he still looks very manly. Is it old-fashioned? And what they said is obviously a matter of liking men. Another unknown voice sounded, if you like men, wow, it always feels so scary. What's so scary about it? Doesn't it feel romantic? There are more and more unfamiliar voices, and it seems that all the women who originally planned to go to the hot spring have joined the discussion. Luogu shrunk his neck subconsciously, always feeling that things were moving in an unpredictable direction, advancing by leaps and bounds. How did the rumor come about? That's how rumors are born, right? There were various discussions, and the voice of Daisuke Mishita was mixed in. If Luogu was sitting on pins and needles before, then this time the pins and needles are definitely poisonous. I want to die. Speaking of which, who is your captain? Someone asked. You actually like men? Our captain doesn't necessarily like men, Daisuke said. Luogu felt a little relieved, while Perona said, the captain's name can't be said casually, we can just say this kind of words ourselves, and if it spreads, it will be terrible. Oh, it's okay. Let's talk, we promise not to spread it to the outside world, someone said. Mikita was immediately in high spirits. Really? You will never tell others? Luogu's sweat instantly soaked all the clothes on his body. Haven't you heard a saying, when a person tells you that he will never forget the rumor, he has already thought about who to tell about it, and he has already thought about how to say it? Absolutely, absolutely, can't let this happen. Under the extreme pressure, the veins on Luogu's forehead jumped. Then I heard Mikita say, our captain, his name is. When talking about this, Luogu felt that his eyes were about to turn red, and she must not be allowed to speak. An indescribable force suddenly erupted from within the body. Although nothing was destroyed, there were successive sounds of falling to the ground outside. Okay. Luogu froze for a moment. What's the situation? Listen carefully. After the sound of falling to the ground one after another just now, there was no movement at all. Why did you suddenly become quiet? Luogu blinked, gritted his teeth, and peeked out from the gap in the cabinet, seeing Makita lying on the seat next to him, already unconscious. He exerted a little force, and the door of the closet was pushed open with a click. Stealth probe, look left and right. All passed out. Luogu was surprised and delighted at the same time. Could it be, Overlord? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate's Bounty, don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 214. Luogu's expression was weird, and he didn't know whether to cry or laugh for a moment. The appearance of a king is amazing, but he really doesn't care. After all, he really had no intention of becoming the Pirate King, or the Pirate Hunter King. But it's good to have awakened Overlord color, at least in terms of strength, it must have improved. Facing other people's domineering color also has the ability to resist. But the problem is, in this situation, in this environment, I really don't know whether to cry or laugh after awakening the domineering look. Especially as far as the eye can see, a large group of not so well-dressed women are lying in disarray. If one of them broke in suddenly, and then his invisibility was lifted again, that would be an absolute death sentence. 36 strategies are the best. Without stopping, hurry up and go first. In a few steps he had left the dressing room, crossed the front desk, and returned to the street. At this moment, Luogu even felt that he was reborn. See the sun again. He took a deep breath and squatted in the corner. In fact, it's not like he didn't think about taking away Dashki and Mishita just now, but considering their current condition, taking them away would probably cause a sensation. And I can't stay there to dress them. Because that's more like a pervert. Now that he has come out, he has reworked his plan. It doesn't matter anyway, just wait. It's just that the invisibility needs to be lifted first. After they come out for a while, estimate their direction, then create a chance encounter, and then run away with the crew. Only with lightning speed can you achieve lightning speed. Luogu made up his mind and felt that his previous decision was wrong. What are you waiting for the other party to do? Take the opportunity to take the person away. The thinking has obviously entered a fork in the road again. Reckless is just one word, reckless is right. The waiting time was not too long, maybe less than half an hour, and the bathhouse suddenly exploded. A large group of women rushed out aggressively, looking left and right, as if they were looking for something. Luogu barely sweated on his forehead. What the hell, aren't you looking for me? Among the crowd, he saw Makita, Dashiki, and Perona, and when he was thinking about it, he heard someone say, go to some people over there, let's look here, we must find that guy. There is no chaos outside, it seems that the Navy headquarters has not been attacked at least. No matter who he is, we must not let him go. Talking all over the place, Luogu didn't know if they were looking for him, but after seeing the whereabouts of the three of Makita clearly, he immediately sped up and rushed ahead of them, and found him in an alley. Body, and hurriedly started running after going out. Makita has sharp eyes, probably because she has been a watchman all the year round, so she saw Luogu at a glance. Captain. She waved quickly. You guys are here. Luogu immediately said, I don't have time to say more, follow me. The three of Makita naturally obeyed the captain's order and ran away with Luogu. These few were moving like rabbits, and within a short while, they had already reached the port. Boarding, anchoring, sailing, a set of actions can be said to be done in one go. By the time Makita came back to her senses, she had already left the port a long way. Eh? Are we leaving now? She woke up like a dream. Daisuke was also puzzled, what's going on? Only Perona looked at Rogu, and then at Makita, always feeling weird. Could it be that what Makita saw at that time was not a hallucination? Once this idea emerges, combined with Luogu's various weirdness, it will inevitably make people think deeply. In short, let's leave the Navy headquarters first. Luogu didn't know how to explain it. He didn't want to become a weight in other people's marriage? Or is it the possible chaos caused by the battle in the women's bathhouse? Anyway, there are all of them. In the beginning, it was the first reason, but after the Overlord color awakened, this matter became more imminent. No, Captain, what's going on? Perona said. Why do you feel like you are running away? Did you do something bad? These words are already quite gentle, of course. He almost pointed to Luogu's nose and asked, was it you who used the domineering look in the women's bathhouse just now? Luogu was taken aback, then rolled his eyes. What bad things can I do? I'm a pirate hunter, not a pirate, so it's worthless. By the way, Captain, let me tell you a joke. Dashki said, when Mishita was taking a shower just now, she said she saw you, haha. Luogu laughed twice. It's a good thing to be able to think of your own captain all the time, a good thing. Really, seeing Luogu's expression, Perona became more and more sure of her guess. As you said, the person in the bathhouse just now, couldn't really be you, Captain. Me? Luogu shook his head immediately. How could it be me? What are you talking about? Yes, how could it be the captain? Mishita waved her hand and said, the captain can't appear in the women's bathhouse, and he can't be invisible. How could he hide in the women's bathhouse without anyone noticing? In my locker. I won't hide. Perona said, but I always feel that our captain is amazing. He is not a devil fruit capable person, but he has a lot of abilities. For example, the body can become torn apart, which is obviously a characteristic of a devil fruit. According to as far as I know, the one with the ability to split apart is a pirate named Bucky. And this person was caught by the captain not long after our captain set out to sea. What does this mean? This shows that the matter is not small. Perona said, recently, I have been with the captain for a long time. The captain often divides people into two types. Some people are directly thrown into prison, and some people will be summoned by the captain. Come out in chains and put in prison. Is there any difference between the two? Is there? Makita and Dashiki looked at each other. Perona nodded affirmatively. Yes, those who are tied up generally have some interesting abilities, or those with high bounty value. And the ones thrown in by confidants are all unknown, and at the same time, the abilities are mediocre. No surprise. Based on the above points, I have every reason to believe that the captain may have an extraordinary ability to obtain the devil fruit ability of those tied up pirates. She rolled her eyes. I want to ask, was Asabram thrown into prison at that time, or was he thrown in after he was tied up? Pirate's bounty don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 215. Luogu almost took a breath. What Perona asked this question was simply heart-wrenching. According to her statements, there is every reason to infer that she has obtained the ability of invisibility. But Makita obviously didn't understand. What does that mean? Does it matter? Perona was suddenly a little worried now. Logically speaking, before Makita boarded the ship, although she wasn't particularly shrewd, she was still an agent. If the average IQ is only at the level of Makita now, then Crocodile should be caught by Luogu. Is there any ultimate blow to this ship? Can all the people on board sacrifice their wisdom to the captain? Otherwise, how could this intelligence be only at the current level? Especially when Daisuke also looked at her with a half-bewildered, half-ignorant expression, Perona suddenly felt that she should leave the ship as soon as possible. She was worried that if time passed, her intelligence might be pulled to the same level by them. He sighed helplessly. What I mean is that if the person locked in the chain is the captain's method of plundering abilities, then the captain will most likely have the ability to become invisible. So, what about the prisoners who use Overlord's haki in the bathhouse? It is very likely that he is the captain. This is why he is so anxious to leave the Navy headquarters. I think anyone who does such a thing in the Navy headquarters will not stay there waiting to solve the case. Oh. Daisuke nodded quickly, I see. Then he looked at Luogu fiercely, is that so? No. How could Luogu admit it, and, what's the situation in the bathhouse? Did you go to take a bath? Well, it is a hot spring specially provided for women. It is said to be very good for the skin, beautify and nourish the skin, and can detoxify and dispel cold. It is simply a holy place. Mishida's face was full of yearning, but she always felt as if she hadn't had enough. Daisuke saw that Luogu's denial was so firm, and suddenly his position was not firm again. He said no. I seem to be willing to believe the captain's words. After all, the captain's swordsmanship is so good, people's words and expressions can be deceived. People, but not in the way of the sword. Luogu almost burst into tears. He is really a frank child. But, thinking about Mishida seeing the captain in the locker, don't you really think this is suspicious? Perona still feels that Rogu is the most suspicious. When Luogu heard this, he immediately waved his hand. I left the Navy headquarters because Lester is too troublesome. I don't want to get involved in some weird things, and also because I offended that guy named Tina. Women, in a word, have nothing to do with what you said. Really? Perona frowned, feeling that her inferences were basically reasonable. The only shortcoming was that there was no key evidence. Otherwise, Luogu would not be able to deny it. However, she did not get the key evidence, but Luogu got it. The sudden bombardment fell into the water, and immediately set off a rushing wave, and the water splashed all over the deck like raindrops, spraying several people on their heads and faces. Looking from afar, I saw a pirate ship was far away, and it was already firing at this end. There was a woman standing on the bow, with long pink hair fluttering in the wind, with a cigarette in her mouth, with a somewhat uninhibited demeanor. Noro's Rogu. Why are you running? Tina's voice came from far away. Tina is very angry, why are you? Luogu was stunned, it's really catching up. Hurry up. The captain really didn't lie to me. Mikita swished into mid-air and began to adjust her demeanor. Daisuke adjusted her course. Perona looked at Tina, who was furious in the distance, in wonder. Why is she so angry? I don't know, Luogu sighed, but we are not pirates after all, so we don't have to worry about her attacking our ship directly. In short, let's run first. Get rid of her and go to the Chambord Islands. In my heart, I also felt a little inexplicable about Tina's hatred for herself. To say that in the morning, he would ignore his answer because he knew about Lester's plot, so he didn't want to be used by him, and finally vented his anger on his own words. Then when he expressed the same position, why did this guy keep chasing him? Are you crazy? Luogu, who knows nothing about women, is not very able to understand what is happening in front of him. But one thing made him feel more at ease. At least he was not worried that the ship would be overtaken soon. The remodeled ship, even if not by much, is at least a little faster than the average Navy warship. Perona glanced at Luogu. I always feel that this matter is still very weird. Luogu rolled his eyes. I think, if you have so much leisure time to think about these things, you should think about who we can find for the captain after we arrive at the Chambord Islands. Going forward, we have to enter a new world. Gone. Perona nodded. I already have several candidates for this, because there won't be too many problems. But I won't let you go easily. I must catch your pigtails, then pinch it hard. Have I offended you? Luogu was startled. Where did this hatred come from? Humph. Perona suddenly made a sound like a tsundere. and then went over to help. Luogu stood alone on the deck, watching Tina's boat being thrown farther and farther, and immediately waved to her in satisfaction, no need to send it away. Fire! What responded to Luogu was Tina's exasperated voice. And in the next few days, Taizi Sosuke realized that it was basically impossible to easily shake off a navy in the sea. Relying on their knowledge of the sea area and their experience in catching pirates, they roam freely in the sea. Even if Luogu and the others tried their best, it took them 4 full days to temporarily throw Tina away. Then quickly set off towards the Chambord Islands. This is the exit of the second half of the Great Line, and when approaching here, Luogu heard the sound of Tianlong people. Do you want to do something? He rubbed his chin, lost in thought, and finally shook his head. Forget it, just let it be. Anyway, they didn't come to provoke me, so what's the point of going against them? Of course, if you are really afraid, the ability to be invisible is really useful, right? Pirate's bounty, don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 216. There are 79 of the Chambord Islands in total. When Luogu came here, he almost didn't dare to stay any longer. The top priority was to coat the ship. Afterwards, if you go to the New World, you won't be able to get there without coating the ship. After stopping the boat at Island 57, Luogu got off the boat with the 3 women. The first thing to do is naturally to find a coating craftsman. From Island No to Island No. Most of them are branch shipbuilders and coating craftsmen, so it is not difficult to find an experienced worker. After looking for someone, talking about business, and a series of things, the coating workers started to get busy. Luogu looked at the 3 girls beside him. Well, you can move freely for the time being. Luogu said, before it gets dark, we are still gathering here. Well, don't provoke disputes, there are many pirates in the Chambord Islands, but try to bear it as much as possible. The 3 women nodded, their excited eyes sparkled, and they were waiting to go out for a stroll. Luogu was silent for a while, and finally said, pay attention to your wallet, spend less money. Speaking of this, it was mainly because Lester was tricked badly by them. Although there are many discount cards and the like, they can't hold back women's desire to buy. In the past 2 days, not only was he being chased by Tina, he had nowhere to go, and even Lester called him, not only annoyed that he left without saying goodbye, but also to break up with him, saying that it costs too much money, he can only be with Zibifen next month. When Luogu asked about discounts, Lester yelled at him. It seemed that most of the things Makita and the others bought were luxury goods. The price is extremely expensive, not to mention whether the things you buy are useful or not, but to describe them in one sentence, it is probably, if you don't choose the right one, just buy the most expensive one. In this regard, what Luogu did was hang up the phone silently, and then praised, good job. I always felt that Lester had gone too far. Not only did he dare to compete with himself, but he also dared to use himself. This time, the 3 crew members made him unable to eat without taking action. Luogu was very satisfied. Of course, Luogu doesn't feel bad about spending Lester's money. If they let them spend their own money, Luogu still has to help them care about it a little bit. Although Luogu had always been generous with them, he didn't want to end up with all the money in his hand after all the tossing. Life at sea is not a lifelong job. Luogu still feels that this road will come to an end in the future. After getting tired, it is better to find a place to rest and spend the rest of his life safely. Faced with Luogu's warning, the 3 people naturally nodded honestly. Makita waved her hand, don't worry, Captain, I'm not stupid. The corner of Luogu's mouth twitched. The problem is that among the 3 people, you are the stupidest. It's really not reassuring. Walking and wandering, Luogu didn't know where he was going. The understanding of the Chambord Islands is all from the anime. I know that there are Tianlong people here, there are many flamenco auctions, there are shopping streets, and there are many entertainment places. He opened a bar and lived a reclusive life with his wife. But these things, the current Luogu doesn't want to care about any of them. I just want to take a stroll quietly, and sort out my thoughts along the way. The improvement of his own strength has far surpassed when he was fighting Ace Blackbeard. Not to mention anything else, just a huge increase in strength, his overall combat effectiveness has directly surpassed one level. What kind of damage will be caused by using this to promote the ultimate meaning of Moonset? If you have to say it, it is probably similar to a natural disaster. But how is this strength compared with the four emperors, compared with those more domineering existences after that? So what? Luogu couldn't make any guarantees for a while, as many things would only be known after the fight. And after entering the new world in the second half of the Great Voyage, who should I go to for trouble? He thought for a while, and wrote down a name in the small notebook, Doflamingo. This must be resolved. Because this guy is as easy to catch as crocodile. In fact, it is impossible for the world government not to know what this guy is doing, but more often they turn a blind eye, just like the auction on the Chambord Islands. Not only turning a blind eye now, how many conflicts of interest are mixed in it? But the question is, if they know it, do ordinary people know it? Ordinary people know it but dare not say it, so everyone can only endure it like this. However, if someone lifted the lid of forbearance, and then created some public opinion offensives, and finally put Doflamingo on the ground, many things would be different. With these in mind, Luogu turned and entered a bar. I ordered a glass of wine, sat there and continued to ponder, and then added another name to the small notebook. Whitebeard. There is no way, it is impossible not to add this father's name. Although Luogu admired this person. How many people are willing to take risks for a crew, even take his own life? What's more, behind his broad back, there are countless warmth. However, these have nothing to do with Rogu. They've been at odds since he sent Ace to prison. Therefore, regardless of whether Luogu will trouble him or not, once he enters the new world, this man will definitely trouble him. Well, think about something practical. After taking a sip of wine, Luogu thought of Fishman Island. After setting off from Chambord Islands, the first stop is Fishman Island. What can I say about this place? There are also many stories. It's just that the time is wrong now, and I don't know what kind of process it is. After going there by myself, will it cause some other accidents? Well, it's hard to say. But you have to be prepared. If you want to try your current level of strength, that's a pretty good choice. I was thinking so miscellaneously in my heart, and then I realized that all I was thinking about was catching pirates. The final destination is not to become the king of pirates. I want to go home, but I always feel that this hope is too vague. But no matter what, you still have to take a look. Luogu suddenly remembered the piece of historical text that Robin translated before, and his eyes gradually shone. Putting down the wine glass, he stretched himself, stretching his muscles contentedly. Then he suddenly heard commotion coming from outside. He couldn't help turning his head to look, but saw that many people had already gathered at the entrance of the bar, and he couldn't see the scene outside at all. The corner of the mouth twitched for a moment. It's so hard to watch the excitement. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate's Bounty, Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 217. Luogu mumbled and came to the back of the crowd, raised his feet and looked out. Before I saw what happened, I heard a loud bang. I was a little confused for a while. What's the situation? The Chambord Islands have been attacked. But after thinking about it, this possibility is not very great. Pirates are certainly daring, and there is nothing they dare not do, but there is no reason to make such a fuss in the Chambord Islands. On the one hand, the headquarters of the Navy is nearby, so you can come as soon as you say it. On the other hand, once this place is destroyed, how can you go to the New World? Do you want to climb mountains in the Red Earth continent? Just wondering in my heart, I saw the person in front of me suddenly kneeling on the ground. He frowned slightly and realized something. He was simply still in the bar, hiding behind the wall. Soon there were footsteps and voices at the end of the street. The tone is not very important, this monkey is too useless. This was a woman's voice. The voice came clearly to Luogu's ears, mainly because it was too quiet on the street at this moment. With the appearance of these few people, the whole world seemed to be muted. Luogu turned his head to look, and sure enough he saw two people with glass jars on their heads. They were wearing clothes made of extraordinary materials, but they looked a little bloated. His body is adorned with decorations of unknown significance, as well as medals. Dragon people. Luogu was not surprised to see them here, but what surprised him was that such a scene seemed familiar. Glancing around, even the people in the tavern were all kneeling on the ground at this moment. No one noticed Luogu's abnormality, immediately smiled slightly, and his figure disappeared in an instant. Stepping out, I saw that the woman among the dragon people was holding a gun at a pirate who could no longer move on the ground, and pulled the trigger. One shot after another, there was no cruel expression on his face, just a little annoyance. It's like a child who is angry? Luogu didn't know why he had such an idea. However, this seems even more terrifying and even more chilling. He smacked his lips, feeling a little bored. His gaze was patrolling the crowd, and in just a moment, he saw a familiar straw hat kneeling on the ground being held down by an octopus-like guy next to him. Really? The corner of his mouth twitched slightly, but unexpectedly bumped into it again. Then his eyes lit up slightly. So, those so-called supernovas should all be in the Chambord Islands now. He licked his lips, and he was a little moved. Each of these guys is valuable. At least it must be more than million, right? Maybe not. I can't remember some of it. He found an empty corner, then took out a small notebook and began to check. When he knew that he was traveling through the world of pirates, he worried that he would forget something, so he recorded it in advance. However, after searching all over the place, I couldn't find who there are people in Supernova at this time, and what kind of bounty they are. Forget it, we will definitely meet. Luogu pondered. At that time, let's talk about it when we see it. Whether we want to trouble them or not depends on the situation. The woman who was chasing after her was unknown now. If possible, he really didn't want to cause chaos here, and then give the other party a clear direction of attack. The people on the street gradually dispersed, and the Tianlong people had already left. Luogu looked around and felt that this place seemed inappropriate to continue strolling. I just chose a direction to move forward, rubbed my stomach, and felt a little hungry again. I don't know where I went. I looked around, and soon I saw a restaurant. It looks great, but I don't know how good the craftsmanship is. To tell you the truth, the positions on the ship are not filled up yet. Makita has always been the cook, and she also serves as the lookout and navigator. It's also hard work. Thinking of this, he suddenly felt that he couldn't always blame Mishita for being stupid. After all, with multiple jobs, you have to be comprehensive. All your wisdom and energy are devoted to these things, and it is inevitable that you are not enough brains in other things. But it's not certain. She may have thrown her own wisdom into the pot while cooking. After defaming his crew, he walked into the hotel. Just like what he had thought before, this hotel is really big, and the hall after entering the door is extremely spacious and bright. It's just, there seemed to be more people. The first thing he saw when he looked up was a woman sitting at the dining table eating. It sounds okay at first, but, sitting at the table, not a chair. This guy is simply sitting between various plates and bowls, eating nonsense. Luogu has never seen a person who can eat to such an extent. What kind of meat, pizza, soup, vegetables, all comers are welcome. While biting the meat, you can stuff pizza into your mouth at the same time, chewing the two together. The speed is extremely fast, and the meat is left in a blink of an eye. Bone off, still yelling, "Give me another pizza, where's the meat, where's the meat?" When he was anxious, his feet were still kicking on the table, and the plates and bowls clinked for a moment. Luogu glanced at it twice, then swallowed subconsciously. He was greedy. Unbelievable. He quickly shook his head, and then glanced at the 4 lines of writing beside the woman. Wanted. Joel Bonny. Bounty 140 million Bailey. Qualified for arrest. Captain of the Bonny Pirates. Luogu rubbed his face, then glanced to the side. There was another person sitting beside him. The distance is relatively far, but surrounded by a group of people, it still looks very obtrusive. This is a middle-aged man with a fat figure, but the suit is neat, the napkin is tied around his neck, he eats very elegantly, and his hair is also meticulously taken care of. He just ate and glanced at Joel Bonny with angry eyes. Naturally, there are also 4 lines of characters around. Wanted. Capone Becky. A reward of 138 million Baileys is offered. Qualified for arrest. Shouldn't you come in? Luogu felt a little regretful, and always felt that once he entered, there would probably be many stories happening. When he was weighing it, he felt that there was someone behind him, and he didn't take it seriously. After all, the gate is so big, and he wouldn't block the way of others by standing here. However, in the next second, he was pushed into the restaurant by someone. "What are you doing here?" "Looking for death." A rough voice came from behind. Pirate's bounty, don't run away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 219. Luogu ate very well. He feasted on all kinds of meat, and his hands were covered with oil. Then he served it with clear soup, and then he ate some fruit to relieve the greasy. The woman on the table not far away was not as particular as he was. It really means that no matter what it is, if you grab it and stuff it into your mouth, eating it is called excessive. Moreover, this woman's appetite is almost doubtful, whether there is a dimensional bag growing in her stomach. All kinds of food entered her stomach like a long whale sucking water, but her stomach didn't change at all. After Luogu finished eating this table, he was basically done. But seeing that the woman was still looking at herself fiercely, she immediately slapped the table and said, "Give me another table." Bonnie sneered and gave a provocative look. The service of this restaurant is still in place, the chef is busy without interruption, and soon, a large group of people came to serve the dishes. However, just as he was about to put it on the table, Luogu suddenly stretched out his hand and pointed at Bonnie's table. "Give it to her." "What?" The corner of Bonnie's mouth twitched. "What the hell is this operation?" Luogu has already stood up, the oil stains on his hands have been wiped off, holding a glass of red wine, smiling slightly. "Please, I'm curious, how much can you eat?" "Waste," Bonnie said coldly. "Well, it's true that I can't compare to you." Luogu held a knife in his hand. "Keep eating until you're full. I'll see how much you can eat." "Boring." Capone Becky stood up. "If it's just such a boring thing, I have no interest in continuing to read it here." "Let you talk." Luogu's eyes fell on his face. "Also, did I ask you to stand up?" "Boy, figure out who you are talking to." Capone Becky Langson said, "You are facing the captain of the Flame Tank Pirates." Luogu smiled. "So, you remind me all the time that your bounty is very valuable." "You are provoking." Capone Becky's face was gloomy, still weighing the pros and cons. Whether to start a war with Luogu now, considering the current environment and the winning rate of this battle, whether to take action or not is still weighed on the scale. Luogu stopped looking at him, but looked at Bonnie. What are you waiting for? Wait for you to die, bastard. The woman on the table stood up suddenly, and with a wave of her hands, the bowls and chopsticks on the table flew straight towards Luogu, followed by herself. Kill this pirate hunter. Superior. The subordinates around him immediately shouted, and the first thing that sounded was the sound of gunshots. The scene was chaotic in an instant, and the anger suppressed by Luogu instantly found a channel to vent. However, when the scene stopped, they discovered that Luogu, who had been attacked by concentrated firepower, had disappeared. Find me. Suddenly, one of them heard a voice behind him. Turning back again, the blade lighted up, and the crescent-like blade suddenly tore through the void. In shock, I heard a woman shout loudly, "Run!" After finishing speaking, the first one ran away. Her subordinates followed immediately. Capone Becky didn't understand what was going on at first, but just smiled suddenly, and heard a bang when he waved his hand, and a big hole was cracked in the wall next to him. Pirate hunter, waiting for the next opportunity to meet you. And Hawkins, who was standing at the door, had already disappeared as soon as the chaos started. Luogu shook the black pill in his hand, put the blade back into the scabbard, and smiled slightly. Are you kidding me? The next second, the dust on the ground was agitated, but the others disappeared directly, chasing Bonnie. On the street, Capone Becky looked gloomy. Complete the coding as soon as possible, and then leave here immediately. He said to his subordinates, Pirate Hunter Noros Rogu is here, but he is not enough to be afraid of, but if he can't kill this person, he will soon attract a lot of Navy. This guy heard that the Navy is still very well connected. If we join hands with the Navy, things will definitely change unexpectedly. The new world is right in front of us. There is no need to be because of this kind of person. Having said this, he suddenly frowned. I looked around, where are my men? While he was in a daze, Sen Leng's killing intent suddenly stimulated every nerve in his body. Looking around, he couldn't find the source of this murderous intent, and when he looked back, he saw a hand born out of thin air and punched down. It's impossible to describe what a heavy punch it was. With the blessing of huge power, Luogu's power has reached a height that cannot be accurately described. With just one punch, Capone Becky shot out instantly like a cannonball. Boom boom boom. He passed house after house, dusty, and at the end of a straight pothole, he was on all fours, foaming at the mouth, unconscious. The sound of footsteps came to the side, stretched out his hand, and grabbed Capone Becky, who had no ability to resist. The chains were born in the void, trapped firmly. Resisting the man, he looked around. Hawkins, well, forget it, it depends on luck whether you can catch it or not. He took Capone Becky to another place, where another person was also tied up. He was gnashing his teeth, but there was nothing he could do. Luogu looked at her, but was a little tangled. It's so delicious. If such a woman is caught on the boat, will it cause her to make ends meet after a long time? Sure enough, it should be shipped as soon as possible. It's a pity that Tina is still chasing after him. Now he goes to the Navy branch and is willing to throw himself into the trap, although Tina may not be there, but what if? To be on the safe side, wait a little longer. He shook his head, tied the two of them together, hung them on his back, and was about to leave when he saw a person standing opposite him. This person stood here, maintaining a dumbfounded state, as if he was very surprised and a little surprised. Luogu blinked. Hello. Ah, hello. The person opposite hurriedly bowed, not respectful. Luogu scratched his head. It's not necessary, is it? Is your sister okay? Ah. You know me. Nami's face instantly burst into light. You really know me, the one on the boat that time was you, right? The one who helped us, must be you, right? Luogu rubbed his nose. Why did he feel like he met a little girl? Kill the mouth? He was thinking about it in his mind. Are you working? Nami glanced at the two behind Luogu. Luogu nodded. Well, so, goodbye. Yeah, bye, bye. Nami quickly took a step back and got out of the way. When she saw Luogu leading the two people out past her, she quickly shouted, wait a minute. Luogu sighed, wouldn't he really force himself to silence him? Pirate's Bounty Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 220. Stopping, Luogu looked back at Nami. Suddenly meeting in such a place, he didn't know how to deal with this girl for a moment. If you want to say nothing and just get captured, it seems a bit wrong. Moreover, since this is the Chambord Islands, it is said that their group was beaten and scattered. Isn't that what will happen soon? Scratching his nose, he suddenly felt that there was no need to silence him, right? That. Nami was a little awkward. Luogu looked strange, but didn't speak, just stood here waiting for her to speak. If you meet our captain, can you avoid it? Nami struggled for a long time, and then said such a sentence. Luogu froze for a moment. It was necessary to avoid it. After all, he didn't intend to catch him now. But I don't understand, why did this girl say such things to herself? Why? He asked in a low voice. After arriving here, the captain found out that you captured his brother. So, if he sees you, he will definitely attack you, although you are definitely not afraid, but... She seemed a little anxious, with sweat on her forehead. Luogu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. So, are you helping me? Nami nodded immediately. I must be helping you. Luogu raised his eyebrows, came to her, approached slightly. Nami subconsciously tilted her neck back, her face flushed instantly, and her breathing became a little short. But he didn't take a step back, as if he was nailed to the spot. You are a member of the Straw Hats, why would you help me? Luogu whispered. Moreover, you are so confident, will I suffer if he attacks me? No. He is definitely not your opponent, but, it will be very troublesome. Nami whispered, although our captain is an idiot, he is really strong. Besides, he is a rubber man, so it is difficult for your attacks to hurt him. So. After speaking, it seemed that he didn't know what to say anymore, and he was still unable to spit out a complete sentence after mumbling. Luogu smiled slightly. You haven't answered yet, why do you have to help me? Because, you saved my village. Nami suddenly gained courage and turned her head back to normal. Luogu was surprised and quickly moved back. If he didn't move, it would be easy to kiss her. Then I saw the girl in front of me and said seriously, you saved my village and many people. So, although you are a pirate hunter and I am a pirate, if necessary, I will still willing to help you. No matter what it is, I will help you. What if I ask you to help me catch your companion? Luogu smiled. What? Nami froze for a moment. Sell them, report their whereabouts, tell me the details of each of them, and then set up a plan to poison them from the inside, so that they can be caught by me without the slightest resistance, and then sold to the Navy. Are you willing to help me with this kind of thing? Luogu squinted his eyes and paused every word, like a demon speaking the most sinister and terrifying language. Nami's face became paler subconsciously. She had imagined Luogu's character more than once, but she never thought that she would hear such words when she was truly alone. On the one hand, there is love, on the other hand, there is companionship. How to choose? Her fists were clenched tightly, she gritted her teeth, but said nothing. Ha. Luogu smiled suddenly, and then reached out and patted Nami on the shoulder. Thank you, you are able to take your kindness so seriously, and you have really started to make a choice. However, the partner who entrusted his life to Dahai still can't betrayal, right? Huh? Nami looked at him, a little confused. Well, I was joking with you just now, Luogu said with a smile. Although I will catch you guys sooner or later, I still can't use this so-called kindness to blackmail others. But the way you looked just now was quite interesting, so I couldn't help but make a joke with you. A joke? Nami breathed a sigh of relief, her eyes were almost red. Why are you like this? Well, that's it, Luogu said seriously. Since you are so grateful to me, then I will do something to make you more grateful. Otherwise, I always feel a little embarrassed. In the village, I never expected anyone to repay the matter of arresting Aaron. Therefore, there is no reason for a girl to be grateful for this every day. This is completely unreasonable. So, since you want to thank me, then be grateful for what I just said to you, and cherish your partners, because only they can help you on the sea. Inai is very important. Since you are willing to pay attention to it, you will definitely make this road smoother and smoother in the future. But please don't treat everyone as a good person, let alone a pirate hunter like me. It's despicable. I can use any means to achieve my goal. Besides, there is one thing I must remind you. What I said just now is correct. I will definitely catch you and your group. But, just rely on your own ability. And, not now. Your captain is not planning to become Pirate King, is it? Then I will wait until he becomes the One Piece, and then capture him alive. After all, what's so great about catching a pirate? Capturing a One Piece is truly amazing. What I want to catch is a One Piece king with the strongest integrity, not the kind who is sick and can be caught without a fight. Please tell your captain, I look forward to his hard work and active performance, and I will wait for him in the New World arrival. I also like things like fighting. If he has the corresponding strength, he can come to me and avenge his brother. I welcome him very much. After saying that, he suddenly wanted to rub Nami's head, and then he really did it. It feels very strange, the characters that can always be seen in anime, well, although the style of painting after 2 years is getting more and more addictive, but now it seems very youthful. Nami didn't expect to hear such words. She touched her head subconsciously, and then raised her head. The man had already drifted away. Suddenly there was a loud noise in my ear, and I remembered the chaos that this guy caused here just now. No, if I continue to stay here, I'm afraid it will be difficult for me to get out. She hurriedly left here and joined the crowd, but Luogu's shadow was nowhere to be seen. He touched his head subconsciously, and then looked at the sky above his head. It turns out, Noro's Rogu is such a person. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate's Bounty, Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 221. Coding is far from complete. After placing the trophies where they should be, Luogu found that he could only continue to wander. Fortunately, Tina hasn't chased her yet. I hope everything can be settled before the coding is completed, right? In fact, Luogu didn't quite understand, what was this woman doing chasing after her when she was idle? Since I'm not a pirate, I don't have any enmity with her, so what's the purpose of chasing after her? I don't seem to have offended her in any way. Luogu felt that she was a little unjust. After all, strictly speaking, the person who offended her was obviously Lester. Does this matter have something to do with me? But there was obviously no place to explain this truth, and Tina didn't give him a chance to say it. If you want to say that you are afraid, you may not be afraid of her, but you just don't want to meet her. Moreover, this woman Dahai actually fired at her own ship. This is obviously a bit too much. No, it's not my style to blindly dodge. If she really chases after me so recklessly, then I have to let her see how powerful I am. Otherwise, what's the point of being a pirate hunter? No more. After thinking about it carefully, Luogu felt that he should not be weak blindly. Logically speaking, the identities are not opposed, and I have not committed any crimes. It is indeed a bit inappropriate for this woman to chase after her. As an upright pirate hunter, she must be given a serious warning, not to let her really think that she is afraid of her. While wandering around, Luogu made this idea in his mind, and then he became a little bored. I also ate and hugged, and I caught 2 pirates after eating a meal, and I got a lot of money later. It feels good. Drink enough, drink a drink, and even see the Tianlong people flamboyant and domineering. They are obviously a bunch of stupid pigs, but they can be domineering. So, this is really a bit of a bad world. Luogu, who was too lazy to cause trouble and didn't want to cause trouble, looked at the towering trees around him, and finally suddenly thought, why not take a nap at such a good time? Wait, there's an auction on the Chambord Islands, do you want to make trouble? But after thinking about it, he curled his lips again. What kind of human auction did Doflamingo have? Why did you buy it? As a slave? Well, he gave Tina a reason to trouble me. Don't go, but, soon there will be excitement over there to watch. Do you want to see? I was somewhat hesitant and tangled in my heart. On the one hand, I really liked the excitement. Luffy beat Tianlong Gran violently, and he was so excited when he saw that punch. It's also because the foreshadowing was so good, all the emotions were accumulated, and this punch broke out completely. It was so exciting. But how can anime be as fun as watching the scene? It's a pity that in this world now, Tianlong people have never watched anime. It's so real. It's not so much resentment as it is ridiculous. Well, I guess there will be no one. Think they're funny. Luogu struggled for a long time, and finally decided to take a look. But not as Noro's Rogu. I found a place for everyone, changed my body shape, and became another person in a blink of an eye. There is no need to change the clothes. There are many wonderful people in this world. Even if the same face is wearing different clothes, people may be mistaken. And different faces wearing the same clothes, the possibility of being recognized is almost infinitely close to zero. So, with this brand new face on his face, he headed towards the auction venue majestically. This place is not difficult to find. Luogu already knew the location after a few casual inquiries. As soon as he entered the door, someone greeted him immediately. The tone was warm and sincere, the kind that wished to make people join him in begging for less yellow paper in just a few words. Whenever you meet such people in some consumer places, you should be more careful. These people are used to coaxing you into spending every penny of your money with their 3-inch tongue, and after you leave, you still have a good impression of this person. Thinking about it carefully, it is indeed quite scary to be able to eat with such a skill. In a few words, Luogu dismissed the people, found a seat and sat down, looked around, but didn't see any acquaintances. And his unfamiliar face obviously won't attract the attention of others. This was in line with his wishes. He got up and looked for the bathroom. After being pointed out the way, the person found that Luogu had never come out again. I hurried into the bathroom to look for it, but where else could I find it? After reporting the matter, he found that nothing was missing in the auction venue, so he simply stepped up his vigilance and didn't take it seriously. At this time, Luogu was sitting at a relatively high position, smiling at a man wearing a white hat with black dots who had just entered the arena. Trafalgar Law. A big pirate with a reward of million. Luogu touched his chin, drooling a little. But considering that the guy's bounty in the later period was completely doubled, he had no choice but to grit his teeth and endure it. However, the results of the operation are still very powerful. Luogu thought of the fruit of surgery on this guy, and the most exciting ability of this fruit is that he can give people eternal life. However, it seems that not everyone can use this kind of fruit to do this kind of thing. It is necessary to have special talents and abilities to create such a miracle. And, after using it, the person with the ability of the fruit will be killed immediately. This ability is good, but it's a bit cruel for fruit-capable users. What kind of desperation would it be to use such an ability to give the other party eternal life? Luogu thought about it carefully and found it difficult. Even if it is possible to become friends with this pirate purposefully through tight planning and careful arrangements. And make up a wonderful conspiracy trap, and finally force it to the only friend who can only hope to cause such an ending. However, in the process, there must be no mistakes. Otherwise, all previous efforts will be wasted. But with such a huge plan, it is simply impossible to not have the slightest flaw. Unless it takes several years, or even more than 10 years, it can be artificially facilitated. Otherwise, it can only rely on luck. For Luogu, this possibility was fundamentally erased. Because of their positions, there is no possibility of becoming friends. It is said that the world government once offered a reward of billion to buy this fruit. It must be related to the eternal life, right? Luogu tapped lightly with his fingers, and looked away from Luo, because at this moment, he was looking around to pay attention to his gaze. Pirate's Bounty, Don't Run Away. Author, The Desolate Little Purity. Chapter 222. It should be said, is it really worthy of being a supernova? It is very sharp. I have become invisible, but I can still detect my gaze. Luogu speculated in his mind, but was not worried about being seen out. After all, there was no one here. Even if Luo lost his eyes, he would never be able to see himself. There was nothing left and right, and the official auction hadn't started yet. Luogu suddenly wanted to visit the backstage. Following the path, bypassing the two guards, he arrived at the destination without any hindrance. Among all kinds of cages, a group of guys with collars around their necks and chains on their hands are the auction items of this auction house. Population trading, to do such a business, tisk tisk. Luogu tisk tisk loudly, while wandering casually looking at it, without any purpose. Suddenly, his footsteps stopped. His eyes were on an old man. Well, judging from his figure, he can't tell that he is an old man. The physique looks very strong. Sitting down against the wall, even in such a situation, there is still a smile on his face. Pluto, really? Luogu licked his lips, then sighed softly. Yellow Flower yesterday, a retired old pirate, the vice captain of One Piece. Terrible, terrible. When Luogu muttered in his heart, Lei Li suddenly looked at him, with a hint of doubt in his eyes. It's really scary. Luogu withdrew his gaze. Luogu had no interest in him. Moreover, in order to make future prey stronger, this old man really cannot be touched. Leaving Lei Li behind, and continuing to walk further, the staff of the auction are everywhere, and Luogu is even less interested in them. But soon, he saw an existence that interested him more. A mermaid. A mermaid girl was collared and locked in a large fish tank. Luogu's impression of this girl was not particularly deep, but because of the things derived from her, Luogu was deeply impressed. The starting price for a female mermaid in this auction is very high, starting at million belly. And the girl in front of him was offered a price of million by the Tianlong people. Can be described as sky high. Although the purpose of Tianlong people is pure, making people think that they are no different from silly 13, but this financial resources is still very enviable. If it hadn't been for Luffy's random intrusion, the celestial dragon shot Haki, and finally Luffy became furious and punched the celestial dragon away, then most of what happened after that would not have happened. Luogu stood outside the fish tank and looked at the mermaid girl for a while, then took a bunch of keys, turned around, and returned to the auction venue. The auction had officially begun. Luogu reached the highest point and then glanced at the group of people standing next to him. The leader is a member of the supernova. Eustace Kid. The appearance is a big pirate worth million. 2 years later, the price increase is not much, million. This made Luogu hesitate. Should he take advantage of the chaos for a while and let him be taken down first? After all, the premium before and after is only million. It seems that the development is not very good. Luogu pondered for a while, then smacked his lips. Let's see later. Let's take a look at the excitement at the auction venue first, and this auction really opened Luogu's eyes. The price for humans is the lowest, starting at UN, with prices ranging from UN to UN. It mainly depends on what special skills and abilities these people have. Luogu saw some things like being able to play cards and dance. They didn't seem to have any special expectations for women, and they didn't have the obscene purpose that most people imagined, which surprised Luogu. In the end, it comes down to the fact that One Piece is an anime after all, and this is an anime world after all. Some things still can't be too explicit. Thinking of this, he inexplicably wanted to laugh, but before he could, the door was opened again, and some familiar faces appeared in front of Luogu. For example, I just met Nami, Robin, whom I haven't seen for a long time, and Chopper, who has become very big. Well, after Chopper became bigger, he really wasn't cute at all. Luogu glanced at their faces, and also saw Xiaobie, whom he had seen in Nami's village. I didn't feel like I was in another world, I just felt like time passed by very quickly. From fighting alone at that time to the current state of 4 people on a boat, a lot of things did happen during the period. Thinking wildly, he came to behind this group of people by the way, and whispered softly in Robin's ear, "Don't be nervous, keep calm." His voice was low enough to make sure only Robin could hear. In the next second, the woman immediately tensed her body, but did not move. "Well, it's pretty good," Luogu said with a smile. "Let's meet in the bathroom." After finishing speaking, regardless of Robin's reaction, he turned around and left. At the door of the bathroom, Robin came soon. There was still some confusion in his eyes, as if he didn't know how to deal with the next thing after he came. At the same time, she also recognized that the voice just now seemed to be Luogu's voice. This guy, when did he become capable again? Moreover, allowing himself to come to the bathroom, isn't he planning to visit the women's restroom? When thinking about this, Robin felt a little uncomfortable. Standing at the door of the bathroom, "It's not okay to enter, or not to enter." Luogu's voice came from next to my ear, "Go in, someone is watching here." Robin just walked in. The bathroom at this time is relatively empty and there is no one there. Luogu opened a door casually, and Robin understood and walked in immediately. The next second, Luogu appeared and smiled slightly. "Is it unexpected?" "I'm even more surprised. What are you?" Robin has discovered more than once. "Is this guy too capable?" The ability of the fruit can be developed, but I have never heard of a rubber fruit being developed into a thunder fruit. This guy can split into pieces and change his appearance at the same time. Now it is even more extreme, and he can even become invisible. Are you going to die? Of course I am your partner. Luogu looked at the surrounding environment, spread his hands and said, "Of course, I am not that kind of person. The reason why I chose such a place is because it is the most suitable. After all, I can't. Shall I let you go to the men's room?" The women's room has a door, but the men's toilet is a big disadvantage for them. Robin's face darkened. "Why are you here?" "It's not important." Luogu threw the keychain to Robin casually. "I probably know your purpose, so this should be used." "You're welcome. As a partner, this is a small benefit. If the chapter is wrong, click here to report."